Here at Paddy Power, we're the home of the Money Back Special, with some incredible offers every single week. Check out the website or app today. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus BeGambleAware.org.
Hi there, thanks for joining us for the Racing Post Weekend Football Postcast. It's Bruce Millington, Dan Childs, Liam Flynn and Paddy Power's Brian McDonnell looking ahead to another great week of Premier League action. The last one before Battle is suspended for a week because there's international football the following week. We've got all the top tips on all the live TV games and indeed the non-televised games. We've got an old firm clash to look forward to, and the boys have got all their fancies further down the leagues and right across Europe. Before we get stuck into the games though, lads, we talked about further down the leagues. Bolton fans are obviously on tenterhooks now. Bury fans know their fate. It's just so sad. The circumstances surrounding it have been, done to death, and you can Google them and find out just how a club whose last game was basically celebrating promotion have suddenly gone out of business after being in existence for over 130 years. Dan, we all love our football club. Yeah. It must just feel like their heart's been ripped out today.
Yeah, you've got about 3,000 hardcore fans there that turn up every week, and by all accounts, it's a very, very big part of that town as well. It's a small town, and to suddenly have your weekends, well, not just your weekends, but your whole life really, changed like that, ripped asunder is heartbreaking. And Bolton, could well go the same way unless something's done in the next 14 days.
Absolutely, and of course, those are the two that have surfaced, Liam. But the economics of the game are such that they may well not be the only two in the coming weeks, months, and years.
No, absolutely, it's devastating news, and there'll be a lot of sort of football clubs down in those divisions who will be. The fans of those clubs will be concerned themselves now about this can happen to anyone. Like you say, Bury celebrating promotion last year, and Bolton not too long ago, really a Premier League side. So it strikes fear into a lot of fans lower down the divisions.
Brian, when you're compiling odds, particularly at the start of the season, to what extent does the finances of a football club come into it? Do you need to be aware of things like, that potentially a club could hit the skids, or do you just tend to focus solely on the results on the pitch?
No, the finances definitely come into it. What would happen is you might see a flurry of bets on a team to go down, and all of a sudden you'd have to look outside, in pre-season especially, you'd have to look outside just the results in the previous league table and see why are these results coming in. So I know even last season there was a lot of bets on Birmingham to go down. There was a lot of uncertainty whether they'd get a points deduction that might bring them down into the relegation zone. I think you remember they did get a points deduction, but it wasn't quite enough to take them down. But we were laying bets on Bury and Bolton even pre-season, and in the end we weren't sure if they were going to get points deductions or they weren't. So we just had to stop taking bets on them altogether at the start until it was clear what was going to happen.
And how have you settled on Bury relegation and that kind of thing? Do you avoid them?
Yeah, we have it in our terms that if there's any club that is expelled from the league when a season has started, all bets on them to go down will be voided. Very
sad indeed. Sincere commiserations to all the Bury fans, and fingers crossed for all you Bolton fans as well. Let's hope that one has a good ending. Let's get stuck into the weekend football. We'll start with the 12:30 game on Saturday on BT, Southampton versus Manchester United. Brian, how do Paddy Power bet on this one?
Southampton are 3-1, the draw 23-10, and Manchester United are 10-11.
Liam, you can go first. Does that 3-1 Southampton twinkle and attract you?
Not quite. I think I'd be looking more at the draw in this one. I think Southampton, they followed up that first league win of the season with a nice League Cup win over Fulham. They saw slightly less of the ball in both games, and I think that Hasenhüttl is perhaps making them even more of a counter-attacking unit this season than previously. They've certainly got the players. It makes sense given Che Adams and Nathan Redmond in the final third. They tend to operate in what's some sort of 3-5-2, 3-4-3 formation more often than not. And they've can take great confidence through having kept successive clean sheets in the league and cup game. And I think United could have an issue breaking them down. They were quite wasteful against Palace. When you look at the stats, 22 of their shots, of 22 of their shots, only 3 were on target. And I think in the long term, a lot has been made about the Lukaku sale, and I think they could rue the decision not to have replaced him with a similar style player. You look at their forwards, Martial, Rashford, they're very similar.
Who else have they got?
Well, beyond that, there's Mason Greenwood, but he's very unproven. He's a young player.
For Man United to go into the season with that as their forward core is incredible, isn't it?
No, absolutely. It's a difficult situation for them going forward. It puts an awful lot of pressure on two players who haven't had to sort of shoulder the bulk of the goal scoring burden for them it's in their time there. So I think this could be a struggle. I think they might struggle to break down Southampton. And interestingly, 3 of the last 5 meetings between these sides have ended in draws, and the other 2 were settled by single goal margins.
Okay, Liam's going for the draw. Dan, you went for the draw in Man United last week and ended up ruining that decision, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I went a little bit too negative in a way. I should have gone for the lay really of United. This time, I'm going to favour United. I think I mentioned last week about having home games, the fact they've got a lot of pace up front, Martial, Dan James, Rashford, that you need teams to be coming out and not sitting in like Palace did. I think Southampton at home, I think they will take the game to Man United. I think that will suit Man United. I'm thinking of the Southampton-Liverpool game, the 2-1. Although they played some good football, Southampton, Liverpool really cut them open on the several times on the counter-attack. I could see United doing that here. I can see them having a good season away from home, and I think they'll win this game.
Okay, and Brian, what's your view here?
Yeah, I think we have a Mexican standoff here because I'm going with Southampton to win. I'll take the 3-1. Man United this season, they were poor in the second half versus Wolves. Their defeat to Palace last week, they were poor as well. That's their 9th defeat since that away win over PSG back in February. The 4-0 result over Chelsea at the start of the season, that really flattered them. Their midfield has been weak. De Gea seems to be making errors all too commonly now, so I'm happy to go with Southampton. They've picked up 2 wins this week now, away to Brighton and away to Fulham in the Cup. They have struggled for goals a bit. They have a new boy in Gineppo. He scored a great goal last week against Brighton. There was a slight injury concern to Redmond picked up against Fulham in the Cup, but I'm happy to back them anyway at 3-1.
Okay, let's do the 3 p.m. Saturday games next.
Right, 10 seconds to promote Paddy Power Games. Paddy Power Games, Paddy Power Games, Paddy Power Games. Advertising. It's easy when you know how. Paddy Power. Enough of the nonsense. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
Welcome back. Let's rattle through the 3 p.m. games on Saturday afternoon that are not televised. Some really interesting games here. We'll start with Chelsea versus Sheffield United. What's the latest from Paddy Power?
Chelsea are 3-10, the draw 4-1, and Sheffield United 17-2.
And we'll stick with you, Brian. You're going to go with the Favs?
Yeah, I am, yeah. I'll go with Chelsea to win and both teams to score. That's the play here for me. Chelsea's defensive frailties are clear and obvious to anyone who's watching this season. Why David Luiz was let go when Rudiger is out injured is beyond me. The weakness at the back isn't something you'd normally associate with Chelsea over the last 10-15 years. They've conceded on average a goal a game for the past 2 seasons. If you think all the way back to their first Premier League title win in 2005, I think it was, they only conceded 15 goals all season, and now they've conceded 7 goals after 3 games. 2 against Norwich last week, 1 the week before against Leicester, which could have been 2 or 3. Sheffield United have scored in their 3 games this season. They have strikers who can't score goals in Ollie McBurney and Billy Sharp, so I'll go with Chelsea win, both teams to score 2-1.
I think Kante's important for Chelsea, isn't he, Liam? How do you see this one going?
Yeah, it's crucial to them. I think I'll go with Chelsea to win in under 3.5 goals in this one. Chelsea got off the mark with their win last time out, mustered 23 shots, 8 on target. But I think Sheffield United make themselves harder to beat than Norwich do, more defensive side. So I think it could be a slender win. And only Liverpool kept more home clean sheets than Chelsea last season.
Dan, where do you stand on Chelsea at the moment?
I was a bit more impressed with them after the Norwich games. I thought they coped reasonably well without Kante. I thought Tammy Abraham, who I criticised last week, actually come to the party with 2 very good goals. So I'm thinking a bit more positively about him. I think this one I'll go Chelsea to win and both teams to score. I think Sheffield United are quite a brave side. They do take chances. They're going to have a go, I think, here. I don't think they're going to sit back in any games. So, but I think they're going to be too vulnerable at the back. So Chelsea to win and both teams to score. How
do Paddy Power bet on Palace versus Villa, Brian?
We have Crystal Palace 6-5, the draw 23-10, and Villa 9-4.
Okay, Dan, what's the verdict here?
I'm going to go with the draw here. I think Palace are still a better team away from home than they are at home. Villa are going to take a hell of a lot of confidence from winning against Everton. They were short of confidence first 20 minutes. After they scored the goal, they were a different team. I think they'll pick a point up here.
Liam?
Yeah, I'm going to go for a low scoring one, under 2.5 goals for me. It's clicked in 2 of Palace's 3 league games. Still not overly convinced by them going forwards. 2-1 win against United was a great counter-attacking performance, but they only had 28% of the ball, and they failed to breach Colchester in the EFL Cup this week.
Yeah, I think we were lucky there at Man U, no question about it. Brian, Palace versus Villa.
Yeah, I agree with both the guys there. I like the draw, and I do like under 2.5 goals at 3-4 to throw into an ACCA. Palace have had problems up top for what feels like years now. Roy Hodgson gave 2 of his strikers, Wickham and Benteke, starts against League 2 Colchester in the Cup the other night, and they still couldn't score. It was a 0-0 draw. For Villa, Wesley took his goal well against Everton last week, but I very much doubt he'll get the time and space that he did for that goal at Selhurst Park this week. So I can see it being maybe 1-0 either side, low scoring draw, under 2.5 goals.
And Brian, sticking with you for a show on Leicester versus Bournemouth, and indeed a tip.
Leicester are 4-6, the draw 11-4, and Bournemouth are 7-2. And I'll go with Leicester to win, and to find something odds against, I'll go Leicester to win and over 2.5 goals at 11-8. I'm a huge admirer of Leicester and Brendan Rodgers this season. I think the 130 on them to finish in the top 6 is a bet, and I do expect them to win the best of the rest as well. And I think the betting without the big 6 at 5-2, Leicester are a great bet. They've had an unbeaten start, what I think are credible draws against Wolves and Chelsea, and impressive last week in their win over Sheffield United as well. Bournemouth, I think, can count themselves lucky to be on 4 points after 3 games. They were given a dream start at Villa after a penalty in the opening minutes. Only one of their goals this season has been from open play, and that took a huge deflection in their second goal against Villa as well. They're going to need Callum Wilson to start firing. 4 goals in pre-season for him, none yet in the league. I don't expect them to pick up a win here, so Leicester win for me.
Dan?
Leicester are a better team than Bournemouth for me. 4-6 is perfectly reasonable to take as a single or stick in your hackers. Can't really fault their performances so far. It's a real tough game at Sheffield United. The way that Sheffield United have got such confidence at the moment from coming up, and they're really a tough team to beat. It's a great win. Bournemouth still not kept a clean sheet this season. That's a problem that carries over from last season. So Leicester for me.
3 votes for Leicester, Liam?
Yeah, I go Leicester and both teams to score. I think Leicester will have too much going forwards for Bournemouth, but both teams scored in 22 of Leicester's 38 matches last season, and they have conceded in their last 2 matches against Chelsea and Sheffield United, and probably should have done so against Wolves as well had it not been for VAR. So I think Leicester will have too much, but I think they can be breached as well.
OK, let's see if the lads can fashion a decent bet out of Man City versus Brighton. It probably doesn't exist on the 90-minute market, Brian.
No, it doesn't. No, Man City 1-16, the draw 11-1, Brighton 33-1.
You can go first, Dan.
I'm immediately drawn to the first scorer market, and the value that always seems to stick out in these games when Man City are red-hot favourites is Raheem Sterling. He's 16-5. He's got 5 goals this season, joint top scorer in the league with Timu Pukki. I just think he's constantly getting priced up quite a bit bigger than Sergio Aguero, wrongly so. So stick with him, Raheem Sterling.
Liam?
Yeah, I'd go for Man City to score over 1.5 first half goals at a shade of odds against. It's a bet which clicked in their last 2 matches against Tottenham and Bournemouth. They start matches very strongly, and they scored 49 first half goals last season. That's 11 more than Liverpool in second. So I just think they'll have too much for Brighton, and they can make a strong start.
And what have you got for us, Brian?
I'll go with Brighton to cover the +3 handicap here. They've lost on their last 3 visits to the Etihad. None of those defeats, though, have been by more than 2 goals. They had started the season brightly, convincing win over Watford away from home. Much better team last week against Southampton despite losing. Man City haven't won at home in the league by 3 or more goals since they trashed Chelsea 6-0 at the start of February. These days as well, they only appear to concede from set pieces, so I expect Dunk and Duffy to have chances from corners. 28s anytime for Dunk, 20s from Duffy. I wouldn't put anyone off backing them. So those 2 anytime, and Brighton to cover the +3 handicap.
Did you see that foul by Andoni which he got sent off for last week? What on earth? Yeah. And I think it was Dale Stevens in the background. Even he was like, oh my God, what's gone on there? That was a really bad one, that, wasn't it? Newcastle versus Watford is next. Newcastle, who had a very, very morale-boosting victory against Tottenham last time. What's that done for their prices in this game, Brian?
Newcastle are 7-5, the draw 11-5, Watford 15-8.
Tough one, Liam.
Yeah, I'd side with Watford. I think, Newcastle recorded their first win under Steve Bruce, but they absolutely dominated in that game. They had 19% possession. I think they strung together something like 190 passes in the whole game. And when they tried to actually play against Norwich, they were absolutely battered. And I think it could be a similar case for Watford, who like to have the ball and have some good attacking talent. So yeah, I'll go Watford for me.
Dan, what do you make of this one?
I think it's going to be a lot of pressure on Watford. Pressure, rumours that that with a manager that that the Watford's owners, they don't stick with a manager too long if things are going badly. For that reason, I think he's going to really look at tightening things up. Against West Ham, they played some lovely football, Watford, but they looked so open at the back in a 4-4, so he pushed both the fullbacks on to provide the width, and it just left them 2v2 at the back all the time. He can't do that again. They're going to have to tighten up. Newcastle, we've seen at home, I don't think with the ball they're going to create a great deal, so I think it'll be a tight game, and a draw is a big runner.
And Brian?
I'll go with Newcastle to shade it. I think it's such a big game for Watford. After the international break, they face Arsenal and Manchester City. So if they do lose here, you'd expect them to lose against Arsenal and City, and the pressure will really be on Javi Gracia. He'll probably be gone if they manage to lose the next 3 games. I felt really sorry for Steve Bruce at the weekend after they bet Tottenham Hotspur. He couldn't even go over and applaud the travelling fans in case he was getting abused. He just stayed over the technical area and watched his players applaud the fans. So I hope that St James's Park is rocking. I really do like Steve Bruce, and I'm a fan of Newcastle. So it might be my heart speaking more than my head, but I'm going to go with Newcastle to win at 7-5.
Poor old Steve Bruce. He didn't go and get... I mean, if he's ever going to get a round of applause in his time as Newcastle boss, that was it. Oh, yeah, my goodness.
He didn't feel he was ready to go over yet, which is quite sad.
Oh. West Ham versus Norwich next. How do we bet on this one?
West Ham are 5-6, the draw 11-4, and Norwich are also 11-4.
I don't know about you, Dan, but I'd be perfectly happy to back West Ham at 5-6.
Yeah, I totally agree. I like the way Norwich are playing. They're sort of taking on the Premier League challenge, playing nice, positive football, looking to win games. I think that might be enough to keep them up, actually. But in tough away games, which this is, with the players West Ham have got going forward, like Sahala, Anderson, Lanzini, I just think that playing an open game, they're going to leave themselves, too exposed against West Ham's talented attack. So West Ham for me.
I think this will be early on Match of the Day, Liam. I think there'll be a lot of goals here. What do you like?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's got goals written all over it. Over 3.5 goals for me at 6-5, I think. West Ham scored 6 goals in the last 3 matches since that Manchester City defeat. 10 shots on target against Watford, and importantly, a brace for Sebastian Haller, which should do his confidence the world of good. Norwich are going to score bags of goals this season. My concern for them is at the back. The movement of their front three is just terrific, and they've now scored in 30 consecutive league games going back to last season. So, over 3.5 goals for me.
Crumbs. What do you fancy here, Brian?
Yeah, the same as Liam. I expect West Ham to win here, and I expect there to be lots of goals. So I like West Ham to win and over 3.5 goals. That's at 11-4. No team has conceded more goals than Norwich this season, and only Norwich have conceded more goals than West Ham. So both teams play open, expansive football. Definitely a bit defensively naive as well, which for the neutral is great. Sets the game up to be a cracker. Sebastian Haller got his first couple of goals for West Ham. He's looked a handful even in the opening 2 games before that. I think he's a really good signing for West Ham. Teemu Pukki for Norwich, obviously then he's taken to the Premier League like a duck to water. Goals against Liverpool and Chelsea either side of a hat-trick. Against Newcastle has shown he can do it against the big sides. We also have a few Teemu Pukki specials up on site as well, to score in 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 consecutive games in a row are all up there. So check out our specials there, Teemu Pukki, if you expect him to score a couple of more goals.
Right then, the live Saturday evening game takes place at Turf Moor, kicks off at 5:30 and is live on Sky Sports. It's Burnley against Liverpool. An interesting game, this one. How do Paddy Power bet on it?
We have Burnley at 8-1, the draw 4-1, and Liverpool 3-10.
I don't know what to make of this one, Dan. I hope you've got more definite thoughts about it.
I've got a feeling that it might be a little bit more of an even game than thinking back to the game towards the end of last season when Liverpool were going for the title and Burnley just sat in, didn't they? And Liverpool just absolutely dominated. I think Burnley will have a bit more of a go here. But that may be the downfall, because Liverpool on the counter-attack have just got so much pace and movement, and I just think they're going to outscore Burnley here. I think the bet to go with, because Liverpool do look a bit short, would be Liverpool to win and both teams to score. Burnley, I mean, Ashley Barnes is on fire at the moment, only 4 goals so far. Liverpool haven't kept a clean sheet this season so far, but they've won all of those 3 games. So same again, Liverpool to win and both teams to score.
Just very quickly though there, Dan, I mean, Liverpool's success last season was obviously the flamboyance of the front 3, but I mean, Virgil van Dijk came in and totally shored the defence up. Why is it sprung leaks again?
Maybe it's just early season that maybe the concentration levels aren't quite there. It just takes a little bit of time. I don't think individually there's a problem, but collectively there's just a little bit of lack of concentration. I think it'll improve as the season goes on.
And probably way too early to be drawing conclusions.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Liam, what's your verdict here?
I'll go for an outside shot. I think Burnley draw double chance appeals to me at 12-5. They've taken 4 points from their opening 3 matches. Burnley outclassed Southampton. They pushed Arsenal pretty close. And they nearly beat Wolves had it not been for a 97th minute penalty. In that game, Chris Wood actually had a good chance to double their advantage. Liverpool, they've got a 100% record, but it's downstairs. Not a clean sheet this season. And in their 2 matches away from Anfield this season, they drew 2-2 with Chelsea in the Super Cup just after they'd been hammered by Man United. And then they narrowly beat Southampton, who they actually allowed 14 shots in the game. So I think, as Dan said, there's certainly slight defensive frailties there. And Burnley failed to score in only 3 home games last season. So I don't think they're going to let Liverpool roll all over them. So I think they're worth looking at to get a positive result.
And Brian, what do you think?
I think it's going to be a close game as well. I've been impressed with how Liverpool have gone about their business so far this season. They got the front 3 back late from international duty. They had a Community Shield and a European Super Cup in Turkey to contend with, and they still find themselves with maximum points on top of the league after 3 games. Burnley themselves have had a great start to the season. They smashed Southampton 3-0. They were unlucky losers at the Emirates, and but for a 97th minute penalty would have beaten Wolves at Molineux as well. So I think it'll be a tight game. Liverpool to just edge it. So I like Liverpool to win by exactly 1 goal at 5-2.
Lovely. Who will win the title, Brian, and by how many points?
Manchester City, and it'll be a lot more than last season, by 8-10.
Dan?
Yeah, I was thinking City 10 points for me, yeah.
Liam?
Yeah. City 6 points.
Okay, let's do Sunday's games next.
Everything is better when it's bigger. Paddy Power's Same Game Multi allows you to combine a number of selections from a single match into one big bet. Check out the Same Game Multi tab and get building your bet. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org.
Welcome back to the Racing Post Weekend Football Postcast. It's Bruce Millington, Dan Childs, Liam Flynn and Paddy Power's Brian McDonnell looking ahead to 2 live Sunday games in the Premier League starting at 2 p.m, and it's the They Played for both clubs klaxon being sounded for Everton versus Wolves. Let's get the latest betting, then we'll get the first thoughts on They've Played for both clubs, and then we'll get the best bets. Brian, how do you bet?
Everton 11-10, the draw 21-10, Wolves 5-2.
What have we got?
I'm struggling for this
Come
one. I've got to
on,
admit,
come on! Andy Gray.
Oh, yeah.
Andy Gray, central defender. Joleon Lescott played for both, didn't he?
Yeah.
Anyone got anything else?
Did Mountfield play for Wolves? I know he played for Villa. I'm trying to think. I know he was at Villa and Everton.
Derek Mountfield, he might have done. He might have done, yeah.
Sure on that, yeah.
Oh, we're struggling this week.
Yeah,
Well, if we get any more, just blurt them out.
Yeah.
In the meantime, Brian, you can go first. This is a tough one because my initial thought when I look at 11-10 Everton is that that's not very sexy. What do you think?
Yeah, it's hard to pick. I'm actually going for a 0-0 draw here. There's only been 3 goals scored so far this season between both of these sides. So other than the 0-0 draw, I'll go with no goal scorer. I think you said to Jason last week you have to do no goal scorer instead of 0-0. It's 7-1. We've already seen it with Wolves this season after their Europa League ties. They've struggled to break oppositions down. That comes at no surprise when they have a thin squad after a Thursday night game, probably recovery day Friday. They only have 1 day really to prepare for a Premier League game. So while they're quite solid at the back, they've struggled going forward a bit so far this season. Everton have their struggles as well going forward. For me, Moise Keane has to start at the weekend. Dominic Calvert-Lewin hasn't shown enough of a threat in front of goal. Everton, they went in for Zaha at the end of the transfer window and they came out with Alex Iwobi. So I like not to go into a car dealership and looking for a Bugatti and coming out with a Fiat Punto nearly. He's, he's, as an Arsenal fan, he's frustrated me for months and months and months. He's just not the player you want to come on and score a goal. He's a bit of a headless chicken, finds himself in good positions, but just no composure.
How much did you get for him?
A staggering amount,
35
million pounds rising to 40 million pounds, which is just incredible. Transfer business of the summer, I'm telling you. But Everton, yeah, they've got it. They're going to be disappointed anyway when the season ends, let me tell you that. But anyway, under 2.5 goals for the Akas and a small play on no goal score, 7-1.
And the reason you should always bet no goal scorer other than 0-0 is because if it is 1-0 and that goal is an own goal, you will still get paid out. Liam, Everton versus Wolves.
I'm going to go both teams to score, and I was impressed by Everton's defensive work at the start of the season, but against Villa I was a little bit concerned maybe about old issues at the back still arising. Everton playing Lincoln in midweek, Wolves taking on Torino. I think it could be quite an open game, and I think that Everton can't really afford to play the high line they did against Aston Villa, against a team like Wolves with the pace that they've got and the counter-attacking football they like to play. Wolves have scored in their last 4 games, including 3 away to Torino, and Everton did have chances going forwards against Aston Villa as well. So I actually think this could be a fairly high-scoring one. So I'll go both teams to score.
Struggling, aren't we?
Well, I'd go the draw here. I would have wanted to back Everton against Wolves because of the fact that Wolves, playing all these games, but have the 2 tough games against Torino before they go into this fixture. I mean, that's why I opposed them when Wolves played Burnley last week. But I watched Everton against Villa and I backed them to win the game, and I was really disappointed with them. They dominated the first 20 minutes, and as soon as Villa scored, their performance just faded terribly. I missed a couple of chances, but I don't think they really deserved to get anything out of the game. So I've taken a bit of a more negative view on Everton now for this season, and I can't really be backing them at just a shade of odds against to beat Wolves. So I think Wolves, even though they've got a tough schedule, can pick up a point. I'll go the draw.
The draw. Okay, 4:30, Arsenal versus Tottenham. What an exciting game this will be. And Arsenal fan Brian, how do Paddy Power bet?
We have Arsenal at 13-10, the draw 5-2, and Tottenham 15-8.
This is tough, Liam, isn't it?
It is. I'll go with Arsenal on the grand scheme of things. I think it was a bit of the same old story against Liverpool, but they weren't embarrassed at Anfield as they have been in recent seasons. And actually, Emery got a lot of criticism for the narrow diamond that he played, but I can see why he set up with it. He won't have to play too many mind games with Tottenham. I think Arsenal can revert to what they prefer to play. And yeah, I just think they actually had quite a good record at home against top 6 clubs last season. They beat Chelsea, United and Tottenham and held Liverpool to a draw. And I think with Tottenham, it's a fairly unsettled squad has been translated into quite poor performances. They couldn't break Newcastle down last time out. They were very lucky to come away with a point against Manchester City, who they allowed 30 shots in the game. And I think, if you allow Arsenal those opportunities, then you're going to be carved apart. So I'd edge with Arsenal for this.
Are you, Dan, starting to get concerned about Tottenham yet? I mean, they're one bad result away from everyone saying they're a crisis club, aren't they?
I am getting concerned. I have to say, I worry. I hope I'm wrong, but I just wonder about how much his heart Pochettino is still in the club. He's made a lot of comments over the last sort of 12 months. He never seems to kill off any rumours, does he, about moves elsewhere, whether it's Manchester United, Real Madrid, and I just wonder how that affects the dynamic of the club and getting players to sign new contracts. I think in the early part of his reign, you'd always, every 5 minutes there seemed to be a player sitting next to him signing a new deal, and now Eriksen's been allowed to go into the last year. That's if he stays. He could even be gone before this game. The Vertonghen situation. And that's led, the Vertonghen one, has contributed to some of the early results. Davinson Sanchez has got all the physical attributes, but he loses concentration. I think he was at fault for the goal against Villa. Again, he was at fault for the goal against Newcastle, and you can't keep coming back from going a goal behind. At Arsenal, I just think in games like this, and I agree with a lot of what Liam said, home advantage in these derby games is always underestimated. It's the atmosphere. Really is a massive spur to the home side, and it makes it very, very difficult for the away side. Their record against Spurs last 8 games before the famous Yunus Kabul winner is in the last 8 Premier League games, 5 wins for Arsenal, 3 draws, no defeats. Now you can't really ignore that and the way Spurs are playing. So Arsenal 13-10, I've got to say, with a heavy heart as a Spurs fan, is a good bet.
As an Arsenal fan, if you're tipping Arsenal as well, Brian, it won't be with a heavy heart, will it?
No, it won't at all. They're actually, I know this will sound biased, but they're actually probably one of my strongest bets of the weekend. Arsenal at home at 13-10. They lost 2 home games in the league last season. One was their first home game against Manchester City, and their last home game against Crystal Palace as well. 14 wins and 3 draws in between those 2 games. And when you compare that to Tottenham's away form in the league, their quite fortunate draw against Man City a couple of weeks ago was their first away Premier League point in 7 Premier League away games. They had lost their previous 6. Spurs, as the guys mentioned, they're unsettled according to Pochettino. It looks as though Eriksen's future is still not resolved, and yet he's still being picked in the match day squads. That can't instill much confidence in the other players who were there, who are committed to the club and being left out at his expense. Tottenham have beaten Arsenal once away from home in the league in the last 20 years. I think Dan alluded to it there, that famous win when Yunus Kabul scored. It's the only North London derby that I've ever been at, would you believe? But Arsenal to win at 13-10. They usually do concede as well, so Arsenal win both teams to score as a play at 11-4.
Okay, also on Sunday in Scotland, we're talking about intense derbies. They don't come any more intense than Rangers versus Celtic, the first Old Firm clash of the season. Kicks off at 12 o'clock. How do Paddy Power bet on this one?
We have Rangers at 7-5, the draw 23-10, and Celtic at 7-4.
Liam, have you got any particular fancy here? Feel free not to.
I think it's a difficult one to call.
You might be going to it, apparently.
I might be going, hopefully. I know that the Rangers fans I know are kind of very optimistic about their chances this season, so I think it could be quite an open game. The Europa League encounter that they've got coming up might alter their performance, but overall I'll probably go for a high scoring affair. Maybe look at both teams scoring over 2.5 goals.
You're definitely in Glasgow for the weekend, aren't you?
Yes,
that was good timing, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, that was perfect.
Little English lad going up there on Old Firm weekend, yeah.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting.
Well, I hope you get a ticket for that. Dan, have you got any view here?
Well, obviously they've both got Europa games, haven't they? This week, Celtic got to play Stockholm as well, haven't they? Got the away leg there. But I just think in these derby games, that 7-5 to me for Rangers sounds a decent price. I don't think there's a massive gap between them now. Stephen Gerrard has done a lot of good work there, closing the gap to Celtic. I watched a bit of the last derby of last season when Celtic won 2-1 and Rangers were down to 10 men for a lot of the game. I think it was Morelos was a bad challenge. Well, yeah, uncharacteristically got himself sent off. But no, I thought the Rangers, that they nearly got a result there away from home in that bear pit atmosphere at Celtic. So at home, I just think odds against take a chance on Rangers.
This must be a big old betting heat for you, isn't it, Brian, this?
Yeah, it always is every season. There's a huge split in Glasgow, obviously, between the two clubs. So we see nearly an even split on the teams every season. But I'll go with Celtic here at 7-4. Both teams do have big European ties on Thursday, but Rangers probably have a tougher task, a bigger game than Celtic do. Rangers as well, Morelos up top. I don't know, has he calmed down this season? He's only a red card away from Rangers capitulating again. So I'll take the value on, I think, Celtic at 7-4 away from home.
Okay, what do you like away from the Premier League in the EFL and in Europe? Dan, what have you got? Don't give your nap away.
Right, in Europe, obviously the big game in Italy is Juventus against Napoli. I like the home side here at a shade of odds on. You look at Juventus last season at home, 15 wins in the league, 4 draws, no defeats. One of those wins was 3-1 against Napoli. Napoli had 5 away defeats last season. This is a tough game. They won 4-3 at Fiorentina in the first game, but when you're conceding those sorts of goals and you're going to Juventus, that's a big worry. So Juventus there. Domestically, I would say have a look at Reading at home to Charlton. Charlton have had a good start, got 11
Hell of
points.
a game, this.
Big game that I'm not sure Charlton are going to stay up near the top for long. Got 11 points from 15 at the moment. Against Brentford, they won 1-0. The shot count was 21-3 in Brentford's favour. The real, like the Alamo, backs to the wall performance. Reading are doing very well.
Who did I see them beat very impressively when Pushka scored a couple?
Yeah, Cardiff 3-0.
Yeah, that's right.
They've also
good.
They've beaten Huddersfield, who I know they've had a bad start, but they've just come down, got with a strong score. They beat them 2-0 at Huddersfield. Got a 1-1 draw at West Brom, so had some tough fixtures. Did a lot of late business. Pushkas apparently has cost them about £7 million.
Yeah.
So they've done a lot of good loanees have come in late as well. I was worried about them in the big kickoff. I've even tipped them to go down, and then all of a sudden a load of late
When you
players.
think they've got Pushkas and Pele,
yeah,
they're both well into
well, yeah.
70s,
Neil
aren't
Warnock mentioned that as well, didn't he, in the build-up to their game? But no, I think my view on Reading has changed dramatically. I think they're going to have a decent season, and a shade of odds on home to Charlton. I fancy them.
Liam, what have you got for us?
Yeah, so in the EFL, I'll just Ipswich to beat Shrewsbury. The Tractor Boys have enjoyed an unbeaten start to the season. Caden Jackson and James Norwood look terrific up front together at this level, and I think they can see off Shrewsbury. 5 blanks in 4 of their last 5 games. And then going abroad into Germany, I think Leipzig to beat Gladbach. I really like the look of this Leipzig team at the moment. It's been a steady start from Gladbach, but the new manager, Marco Rose, is yet to be properly tested. They drew 0-0 with Schalke, which is quite a disappointing result from them at home. They probably should have got more from that game. And I think they could probably be out of their depth against a Leipzig team who beat Frankfurt, who obviously had a terrific season last term. And Julian Nagelsmann is just an absolutely terrific coach, worked wonders at Hoffenheim, and I think he's going to do the same with them.
Brian, what have you got for us?
Yeah, on the continent, I'll go to Spain. I like Leganes double chance at 4-5 away to Real Betis. Defensively, Leganes are very solid. They gave Atletico Madrid a good game last week. They only lost 1-0 late on. Betis have their number 1 goalkeeper, Robles, formerly of Everton, suspended, and the sub-keeper, Martin, that played against Barcelona last week at the Nou Camp. He was at fault for 3 out of the 5 goals, so there might be some value there in Leganes double chance. And then in the Championship, I like Bristol City at home to Middlesbrough. Bristol have only lost 1 of their first 5 games. That was the game against Leeds, the opening day of the season. They've had 3 good wins in their last 3 games. Middlesbrough are going the opposite direction. They've had poor results and probably more worryingly poor performances under Woodgate and Keane so far. So I like Bristol City to beat Middlesbrough at home.
Lovely stuff. Let's get the naps.
This will not be beaten.
2 weeks ago, we had a treble at COP. Last week, we went for it again, and we had 3 wins and 1 draw, didn't we, Dan? But never mind. We're going to get it sorted this week. We're going to be back on the winning trail. I'm going to go first. West Ham at home to Norwich. That's not anti-Norwich. I like them, but I'm very, very fond of West Ham this season. So West Ham for me. Dan?
I'm going to go with one that Liam's just mentioned, Ipswich at home to Shrewsbury. Ipswich top of the league. Great start since being relegated. Scored 11 goals. Shrewsbury are 9th, doing all right, but only scored 4 goals, relying a lot on defence. I don't think they'll keep a clean sheet here.
Liam?
Going to the Bundesliga, Freiburg to beat Cologne. Freiburg maximum points through matches with Mainz and Paderborn. Cologne, newly promoted club, and I really like the look of Freiburg's front 2 at the moment. Luca Waldschmidt and Nils Pettersson, they're looking terrific.
And that ACCA is completed by, Brian?
By Arsenal, it's probably a biased decision again. But look, I did get three picks on the panel today. Their record against Tottenham at home speaks for itself as well. So I think they're good value at 13 to 10, and we'll add them in.
Okay, we've got Arsenal, we've got Freiburg, we've got Ipswich, and we've got West Ham. And Brian, will you be enhancing that fourfold?
Yes, we will enhance that fourfold. It'll be up front and centre on the specials and football page later on today.
Jolly good. Good luck with those ones, lads. So this weekend, you are up in Glasgow, hoping your mate has got your ticket for the derby. That'll be good. Brian, what's your weekend hold, my friend?
Not much at all. Unfortunately, I'm in the office on Saturday and Sunday, so I'll be watching all the football from my desk.
Oh, will you now? Does your line manager know about that? You just sit around watching football. Mind you, it is your job, isn't it? You've got to keep an eye.
I got to keep an eye. Yeah, it's a good excuse anyway. I have to keep an eye on it all. But yeah, that'll be it.
And Daniel.
Yeah, just watching football, but not first hand because I've given the trip to Newcastle, Watford, Newcastle miss this week. So
I should think you have. Okay, I will be watching Palace versus Villa, not expecting too many goals, but living in hope as we all do. Okay, thank you very much indeed for watching or listening. Don't forget, if you enjoy the shows, please make sure you rate, review and subscribe wherever you are listening. We're back next Thursday with another great Racing Post football postcast.
Friends, or maybe more. Earn a 20 quid free bet for every friend you refer to Paddy Power, thanks to our Friends with Benefits programme. Log in to your Paddy Power account and share your referral link to get started. Terms and conditions apply. 18+, begambleaware.org.